So the first thing that we did in building out the group's resourcing strategy was we needed to understand really clearly what the business strategy was. So we conducted a lot of stakeholder meetings looking at both the near-term business strategies and priorities and over the next 3 to 5 years. As part of that, looking at understanding the business vision and the goals of the wider organisation, looking at any impact of downsizing, of outsourcing, location strategies, new product areas, any changes to distribution channels, so the impact of digital, things like that. So that was the first area. The second piece was really around understanding how resourcing has historically been delivered and the perceptions around that. So looking at the measures of resourcing success, what's worked well, what's worked not so well, the capabilities within the business of both the hiring community and the resourcing function itself. Thirdly was really about a mindset change, so the willingness to think about talent and resourcing as a critical differentiator for your business. So that's really about focusing on the quality of output and alignment with the right values and behaviours of the organisation. And then finally, but not least, really thinking about external scanning. So looking at what our competitors were doing in the marketplace, looking outside of sector, attending conferences, looking at research papers, talking to suppliers and potential suppliers about what were the types of solutions and best practices that were being deployed within resourcing and talent at the moment. So the first thing was we got fantastic insight from the meetings that we'd had with our broader business into the overall business strategies and plans, and that's critical to inform the rest of the resourcing approach and strategy that we wanted to take. We understood very clearly what the bank's purpose and vision was, so we knew that as an organisation, the bank's purpose is to help Britain prosper. The vision is to be the best bank for customers, and we'll do that through enabling and driving out the values of the organisation into everything that we do. So there's very clear message that we needed to support the embedding of the values and the right behaviours into the resourcing strategy. There's obviously flowing on from that an opportunity to position and use recruitment as a culture change enabler and as a means of joining up other HR activities in that space. The findings really presented the opportunity for us to move from a reactive resourcing model to much more of a proactive, pipelining, future-focused resourcing model. And as part of that, it was really it highlighted the need for recruitment to take a strong position in supporting the leadership pipeline development and also diversity through joining up talent and emerging talent strategies and feeding them into the broader resourcing approach for the group. So then it also focused us on the need to reflect our external brand and our customer proposition in our candidate and manager experience, and we looked at both the potential impact on our external reputation and on our customers as well through the large volumes of candidates that we interact with on an ongoing basis through the resourcing cycle. And then finally, it identified quite a number of different areas of opportunity to further enhance our recruitment to better support the overall needs of the business and group. First of all, we used it to develop some principles to inform the overall approach we took to our strategy. So we looked to use recruitment to support culture change and facilitate inclusivity and diversity throughout the group. The employer brand and the group's values really became a guide as to how we want to represent ourselves. The customer experience to reflect the best bank for customers proposition was absolutely critical. And also the role of managers and recruiters was very much defined to help set out how we wanted to position the resourcing strategy going forwards. So once we've got those principles, we then developed an integrated recruitment strategy to deliver against the future needs of the group, backed up with a programme of initiatives to enable the achievement of both the goals and and also targets for the recruitment strategy. Now we've got to note it wasn't a one-size-fits-all approach. The strategy itself provides the framework, the tools and the targets to meet the resourcing needs for the whole group, and we focus very hard on creating enhanced linkage between different areas of HR. So we've already talked about talent, but it links into the learning space in terms of taking the outputs of resourcing practices and using them for development of onboarding of new hires and things like that. So it was really around trying to provide a consistent approach for the whole business for some elements, so things like a behavioural framework that we used for assessment, but also then provide the capability to increase or decrease certain elements of the strategy to meet the needs of different business areas. And an example around that would be talent pooling, which we don't want to use for every single role, but in certain key areas that would be something that will drive business, improvement. First of all, it was tailored to meet the needs of the business and our findings, as I think I've already talked about. We used the principles I referenced earlier on to drive the content and how the strategy was formed, aligning the strategy principles and initiatives against the findings from the business analysis work we did at the start. So it starts off really with forecasting and delivering resource and capability for the divisions, and that's really driven by enhanced workforce planning and recruitment planning off the back of that. The use of a new employer brand to influence and inform candidates as a cultural tool across HR and the business, and also we use that then to inform thinking on the candidate and the manager experience, which was a key point. We defined then the levels at which external hiring would be the main focus, and at those levels where internal would be the primary focus, so supporting the development of our leadership pipeline for the group. And as part of this, that led to an increased focus on emerging talent sources and an increased emphasis on internal mobility and using the outputs of talent identification at lower levels in the group to increase internal mobility. We also had an increased focus on proactive, direct external talent sourcing and pipelining using a range of different channels, taking data as a key informing mechanism to drive further effectiveness, leveraging our internal connections, and for key future and critical capabilities, driving forwards talent pooling and social media approaches. As I touched on before, culture change is a key piece within the banking sector and within Lloyds Banking Group, and we discovered that we could support culture change for Lloyds Banking Group through aligning hiring decisions to behaviours and the needs of the group and divisional strategies. And we did that through a couple of things, but primarily through the use of a group-wide framework which we built to incorporate the group's values, the capabilities required for the group's future to really underpin interviewing, and also new automated assessment tools that are under development at the moment, and more broadly within the broader HR sphere, so looking at HR activities such as performance management, learning and talent. We used then onboarding as a means of embedding the group's values and contributing towards engagement and intent to stay. And then finally the key piece was around measurement, so really looking at measurement of resourcing, not just by cost per hire and time to hire, which clearly are important measures, but by looking at the value of recruitment in terms of the quality of hire, the performance of candidates in role, both from an internal and an external perspective, from a diversity standpoint, from a cultural and values fit perspective, from the standpoint of our end customer satisfaction, so both from a candidate standpoint and from a hiring manager, user of the resourcing service perspective, looking at reductions in first year attrition, increased internal mobility, looking at the engagement of new hires, and last but not least, the performance of new hires from performance management processes and schools.